Hi, let's yap. Here's the thing. Before I get into this video, I will be reviewing The Stars is Dying by CC Penaranda. I know I'm not pronouncing that right, and I know I look Mexican, but I don't speak Spanish. In fact, I speak German, and I am Mexican. I don't just look it. I am actually Mexican. I just wasn't raised around Spanish. But yes, I will be reviewing this book. And if you are the author, if you are a family member of the author, if you are a friend of the author, if you give the author their coffee in the morning, click off of this video. Why are you watching it? Why did you even click onto this video? This is supposed to be a space for readers like me to be able to leave their reviews, and not for authors to be able to watch this review, because it's not gonna be nice. I am sorry. I am, truly. I try to be nice. I myself am an author. I have a self-published novel. I am currently working on a novel that I am going to try to get traditionally published. So I would not click on a review like this, because I would personally cry myself to sleep every night if anyone said anything mean to my face ever. But guess what? You have the control to not have mean things said to your face. So you can click off of this video, and you should do it. And the reason I'm emphasizing this point so much is because there's been a lot of issues in the book talk community recently with authors in reader spaces. So I am emphasizing that. There's also been issues with this author specifically in reader spaces and with readers. Apparently there was like a tiny little controversy when ARCs were going out. She was like not very open to critical feedback of it, which like it's fine, and I don't have like full research for that. It was just kind of hearsay that I saw on Reddit. But yeah, so specifically everything I said, click off of this video, because when I read this book, not only were the stars dying, I was dying on the inside and mentally. There has been big talks in the book talk and just the bookish community about the fall of intellectualism, one might say, the rise of anti-intellectualism, one might say. And I feel like it's books like these and many other books, which like I have examples in the background of some of these books that prove that. And that's not to say there's been big like, oh, like, you're just girls. You read romance and fantasy and romantasy. And I'm assuming that's all you're reading. Bitch, I'm reading East of Eden by John Steinbeck right now. I do not just read romance and fantasy. Yes, I have read a lot of it, but it's not all I read, okay? Okay? Sue me. Don't sue me. I gotta be careful what I say in these videos. Anyway. I'm talking about this book because I started reading it, and as I was reading it, I was like, wow, this is really bad. She's really good, except she's really bad. So then I stopped reading it, and then I went to Goodreads, and I saw my sentiments reflected in many of the reviews. For example, it has 3.24 star or 3.42. I am dyslexic when it comes to numbers. That's not an actual diagnosis, and I'm sorry if that was offensive, but it's not true. I used to work at Target, and when I would have to read the drive-up numbers off of people's phones, without fail, almost every single time I would flip the numbers. There might be something there, is all I'm saying. Anyway, this book has 3.42 out of 5 stars, in case you don't know how Goodreads works. And it's got 24,980 ratings and 4,678 reviews. Of those 24,000 reviews, 4,474 of them are 5 stars, 7,904 of them are 4 stars, 7,921 of them are 3 stars, 3,083 of them are 2 stars, and 1,598 of them are 1 star. So that means 31% of people thought that this was good enough to give 4 stars. To me, I don't know if everybody reviews books the same, but for me, a 5-star read is like I have not stopped thinking about this book since I read it, and I will not stop thinking about this book until I die. For example, you can barely see it, but the Percy Jackson series, that is a 5-star read for me. I read that when I was in 8th grade, when I was like 14 years old or something like that. It has stuck with me for life. I have a trident tattooed on my ankle. More recently, Babel by R.F. Kuang, 5-star read. Pure Nisi by Susanna Clarke, 5-star read. Literally, I will never stop thinking about those books. They are fan-freaking-tastic. So this book has 17% 5-star reads. 4-star reads for me are typically like, I had a really fun time reading this. There is a lot of issues with it. It might not stick with me for a while. I might reread it every once in a while. But nothing like sticks out enough for it to stick with me for life. But it was really good. It was written well. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It's close to a 5-star read. Obviously, it's 4 stars. Just not quite there. A 3-star read for me is just like, meh. It's average. Like, that's where it would be on a 5-star scale. So a lot of people, 31%, if we're sticking with my rating system, which I'll admit is not everybody's rating system, but 31% of people thought that this was meh, average, which I would say is actually a very valid rating for this book, because while I rated it personally 0.5 stars, which is a little harsh, I'll go up to 1 star for the sake of it being Goodreads and not Fabled. But a lot of people thought that this book was just meh. Understandably so, and we will get into that. However, another, like, not majority of people, but a lot of people are also in my boat where they thought this was bad enough to give it 2 stars or 1 star. 1 star, this is awful. 2 stars, it wasn't bad enough to be 1 star. That's like a very basic rating. I'm not going to go into it. You understand, I hope. Sorry, this is like my least structured video I've ever done. Oh, okay, sorry, okay. Unstructured Sam, my bad. The reason I look different right now is because I am recording on my iPhone, so this is different from other videos. Because of that, I usually record on my camera, but somebody is borrowing my camera right now, so I am just recording on my iPhone. And 2, I didn't script this video. This is completely unscripted. Usually I literally have every single word I am going to write scripted out. That doesn't exist. I'm just going by the seat of my pants. I don't think that's the phrase, but I'm just going off of a whim here. I literally have the Goodreads pulled up. I have the book, and I have thoughts in my head. So yeah, that's how this is working. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to tangent like that, but I did. Oopsies. So a lot of the Goodreads reviews and a lot of the issues that I had with this book is that it is confusing. It is structured in a way where I think it's meant to make you not understand what is happening, but it's supposed to make you, I feel like what the author was going for was like immediately immersing you in this world and kind of like trailing you with little bits of trying to make you understand what is happening. Well, that didn't work. They just threw you in this world and like left you to fend for yourself, essentially. There's like nothing that really grounds this world. And real quick, let me read the description of this book. I just pulled it up like on Goodreads, like I don't literally have it right in front of me. I'm an idiot. Anyway, the top of the book. Oh, and I bought this book because it's pretty, by the way. Look how gorgeous. Like, it's a beautiful book, and I'm a sucker for a good cover, so I bought it. But also at the same time, and this is no shade to the artist that designed the cover, it's a little bit of shade to the artist that designed the cover. The sword, it was like very clearly done on digital art, which isn't a bad thing at all, but it's just like a little too smooth. Like, this is supposed to be, I feel like, a more metallic looking object, but it looks more like hair. Like, it's just a little too smoothed out. Anyway, that's like a very nitpicky thing. I did still pick up the book because it was a pretty cover. Anyway, here's the description. The brightest star needs the darkest night. Which I'm gonna say, cringe. 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 Which cringe is dead, be cringe. To be cringe is to be free. But this is bad in the sense that I would have read this on Wattpad when I was 12 years old. And it's bad in that sense because the main male character's name in this book, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to guess what it is. If you guessed that the main male character's name was Knight, spelled N-Y-T-E, you would be correct. And if you guessed that the main female character's main name was Estrella, which means star, you would be correct. So, the brightest star needs the darkest night. It's bad because of that. Because her name means star, and his name means night. And it's like, what happened to nuance? What happened to subtlety? What happened to, I don't know, just like natural human connections? Just a thought. Not everything needs to be like so fated that your main character's name means star and your other main character's name means night. Anyway, moving on from that. Ready for this dramatic reading? Estrella is a prisoner of her own mind, the past sliding from her grasp like water. But she knows she must escape the cruel arms that hold her captive and find her clouded memories once again. This quest leads her to the Libertatum, a succession of trials hosted by the king in which 5 human lands compete for a cycle of safety from the vampires seeking blood, claiming souls, and savaging after dark. Pause. I have not read, oh god, I can't even remember the name of the book now. Alex Astor, Island in the Sky, Lightlark. I have not read Lightlark because I just know myself. I've seen the reviews. I'm not a big YA reader at my current age. I just know I wouldn't like it. From the description and from what I've seen of the reviews, why are there so many books? Why is the current, like, it's like when Divergent and Hunger Games and all of that was happening. Why is the current state of, like, fantasy like a trial, a game? Someone must fight to their death to survive. Why is that the current state of fantasy books? Because it's dumb and stupid. If you like that trope, good on you. You like that trope. No judgment from me. Only a little bit. I would not take a book recommendation from you, personally.
But I don't even know how to describe my thoughts. See, that's why I usually have a script. I just hate that every fantasy book is structured.
Okay, I started going on this tangent, and I don't know where I'm going with it. Again, this is why I usually have a script. But it just, like, it doesn't sound good. I'm such a good book reviewer. Let me keep doing this. No, so The Hunger Games, it's rooted in actual, like, human history. It has sense to it. So when you go into it, you're like, okay, yeah, for sure. And then it also has sense to it because it has history and it explains that history. It's not just these characters do this because of this, but then you actually give no context to that and you don't show any context in the society of that. And I feel like books like Lightlark and books like The Stars Are Dying, that is how it's structured. Boom! I got the thought out. I love when that happens. Anyway, back to the description. Sorry, that was like, didn't even make sense on my behalf. I feel like this book now. Anyway, but even winning the Libertatum will not keep Estrella safe from vampires. She made a bargain with the beautiful and deadly Knight. His name is Knight. Sorry. Who stalks her dreams and haunts her waking hours. He promises to keep her safe, but she knows she cannot trust him, cannot trust his lies, even as she finds herself drawn deeper and deeper into his seductive embrace. Caught between Knight and her own mysteries, Estrella must decide if winning the Libertatum for her kingdom is worth her life or if protection and the answers to her past really are her strongest desire. Okay, so that's the description of the book. Intriguing, right? I mean, okay. Kind of intriguing. I love vampires. At the time that I bought this book like a year ago and I didn't read it until recently. The first book that I published, is also about vampires. So at the time that I bought this, that's kind of like what I was getting into. I was like, let me read all the vampire stuff and da 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 da. My book ended up being, by the way, just as another little side tangent, my book ended up like taking vampire lore and just like completely flipping it on its head and like rewriting it. So I didn't need to be doing all that. But I did anyway. And that's why I picked this book up. But vampires in this world are interesting in the sense that there is no sense. Oops. So the vampires, as I know them, and mind you, again, I'm doing this book review. I barely remember anything from this book because of how nonsensical it was. But the vampires, I believe they're split into two categories. There's like the soul-eating ones and the blood-eating ones. I think Night is a blood-eating one, and the soul-eating ones literally like rip your soul from you, or something along those lines. But it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and maybe that's my bad, because it did get to a point, I'll be completely honest, in this book review, which I don't know if this is actually a book review. This is just me ranting about bad. Just me ranting about bad. It got to a point though where I was skimming, I'm not gonna lie, because I was so frustrated with how this book was written. So let's get into that actually, because I was locked in on the prologue and on the first chapter and on the second chapter. Then I started skimming just a little bit. I was still like paying attention-ish. But the prologue, this is where the confusion starts. A lot of the Goodreads reviews talk about how confusing this is. Oh my good God. I'm sorry. I just looked at the Goodreads, and the series is called the Nightfall series, and it's spelled N-Y-T-E fall. Nightfall. I wonder if he's gonna fall. Sorry. Anyway, like I said, let's start with the confusion. So the prologue starts like this. He learned that dying, no matter how slow and painful the seconds before the final breath, was nothing compared to living infinite more days without the one he loved. So, not bad, right? It then gets so convoluted and just nonsensical. It feels like if you were to take one sentence that you wrote, right? You wrote one sentence. You're like, okay, that's a bar. But I need more than one sentence for this paragraph. So you put it into AI, ChatGPT, whatever you use, and you say, hey, make this sentence a paragraph. And then it makes that sentence a paragraph, and then that's what you put in the book. That is personally how each of these paragraphs feel to me. That is the best way that I can describe it truthfully. Because then, yeah, it goes on to talk about something. I don't know, how he's been missing his love for like hundreds of years, how he watches the same star and like that's her. A king, what will you do if you manage to make it back at all? It is a world you do not know, one that may cast you out permanently before you can discover a thing. So the king is talking about that. And then yeah, he chokes, he slips, he goes. And I think that is Night going into like the overworld looking for his love. Let's get to the description, because this is when it really started feeling like Wattpad to me. The descriptions of the characters. I know it's in here somewhere. Give me a second, I'll find it and be back to you. Actually, pause. Before I find the description of her, let me say, the like main like villain guy, his name is Hector Goldfell, which is bad. Just like putting gold in the name of like a man who like his main purpose is like greed. Like he's just a greedy guy. Like that's it. But you put gold in his name, which is just so funny to me. Anyway, okay, this is where we get into, I also hate first person point of view. My bad for picking up this book and it being in first person point of view. Just a personal preference of mine. That's nothing on like, there are some books that do first person really well that I like really enjoy. Like a lot, like that I love. This just doesn't do it well in my opinion, because it relies too heavily. What a lot of books in first person point of view fall off on is when it relies very heavily on main characters telling everything within their inner monologue or dialogue, because that is how the author is trying to get the world building across, is just them like being like, oh, but we live in this world, see these trees and this stars and whatever, instead of like showing like, oh, she walked, I walked down the street and I like saw, and like, you know what I'm trying to say. That's where a lot of things fall off. And let me actually read this, because I think this is actually the perfect example of me saying that. So in her inner monologue, whatever, she says, my fingers brushed the ornate black hilt of my dagger idly. I wasn't permitted to dance or entertain like the women below, but I still enjoyed the lightweight elegance of their movement. Skillfully, she says to her about herself, technically. I got back to my feet, perhaps childishly copying one of the ladies who was trying out the art of theft among the newest group of esteemed card players. Now, she just mentioned these ladies being like dancers, elegant, and they are dancers, you find out a little later on. A way that this could have been said, instead of saying, skillfully I got to my feet. I am so skilled, I can just do this, I got to my feet. You could say, or you could have dove in to how maybe in the privacy of her own room, Estrella, this character, would practice the dancing that she would see from these ladies at night, and that is how she got that skill. You could say, you could have started the paragraph with, like, I watched, this is going to be bad, but this is just, like, off the top of my dome. I watched the elegance of the dancers below me, and I swept my feet off of, where is she? A beam? I think she's literally standing in, like, the rafters of a ceiling. So she's like, and I swept my feet up the beam, balancing carefully as I imagined myself, not doing a waltz, because that's not how these ladies are dancing, but, like, doing a dance of some sort like these ladies that she admires are doing. That would have been a way to show that she was doing it skillfully, rather than, and that she was doing it in, like, a copy pattern of a childishly copying pattern of the ladies, instead of literally just saying, skillfully I did this because I admire these people, maybe childishly. That's where a lot of this book falls off for me personally, is just the telling and not showing. Yeah, that's a main thing. The actual, like, I realize I'm just, like, ranting about this, but the actual, like, reviews of this book are going to be very much like this. Let me get to, though, where she describes her hair, because I audibly laughed out loud. Oh, I missed it. Okay, the part about her hair is on the same page. It's just further up, and I knew it was, too. I flipped to the second page, and I was like, this doesn't seem right. So a few more paragraphs up from the one that I just read and, like, kind of tried to fix. She says, my glittering silver hair spilled over the sides, along with the sheer material of my skirt, which floated in the air. But I didn't fear anyone finding me up here. They never looked up. First of all, this requires us to have such a suspension of disbelief that nobody is not even looking up. But when I am looking straight ahead at my phone, as I am right now, I can still see bits of my ceiling in my bedroom. You have peripheral vision. You see multiple parts of a room that you're in at once. You are telling me there's a lot of people in this room. There's women in this room. There's Hector Goldfelt in this room. There's his men in this room. You are telling me not a single one of them is looking straight ahead, or a guy just got his neck snapped in this scene. They don't look up to try to avoid that. And they don't see glittering silver hair up in the ceiling, hanging down, along with a sheer skirt. And there's a lot of suspension of disbelief that you have to do in this book. Like, it's so, and I feel like I struggle a lot with the sense of, like, just, like, immerse yourself in the world, like, don't think about the logistics of it. But this is such a basic logistic thing that could have been solved so incredibly easily had you just thought about it for more than 5 seconds. Even if she's good at hiding herself, if her silvering, glittering hair is hanging down, someone is going to see that. And it's cringe. Like I said, it's giving Wattpad, like, when I was 12. Like, oh, you're saying your main character has a special hair color that probably no one else in this universe has? Aww. It's giving the white wolf trope, which if you know, you know. Because I know. Because I wrote the white wolf trope. God, I can't even speak now. I wrote the white wolf trope when I was 12. Which the white wolf trope, if you don't know. It's a trope on Wattpad where werewolf books were so incredibly oversaturated, and every single time, without fail, you would be following your main character. She would take so long to actually get her werewolf. It didn't come to her forever. And when it finally did come to her, after she had been accepted by the alpha, or after she'd been rejected by the alpha, whatever the storyline is, she finally transformed into her werewolf and gasp! It's the rare white wolf! That's what it was giving when I read that she had glittering silver hair. And the fact that her name is Estrella, and the whole point of the book is that she is like Starlight. I hate this book. I'm sorry. It's literally Wattpad. I've read better books on Wattpad. I have read better books. I can't speak. I've read better books on Wattpad. Oh, okay. And then just like sticking with, again, these first 2 chapters. I'm not going to get much further into the book beyond these first 2 chapters because, like I said, I did start skimming. But also, I don't wanna. Easy as that. You can read it if you really want to. If this is convincing you to read it, please leave a comment because I would like to study you psychologically. Anyway, so she is trying to escape Hector, who is like her captor of sorts. And he's like she's like trying to get back to his room, whatever. And she sneaks into this room. This is like a strip club, by the way. She sneaks into this room. And in this room, she is not alone. Guess who's there? It's night. I'm just gonna spoil that for you early. In the same way, I have read a book before. It's actually, Angry God, which, not a terrible book. Some skimming did take place because of how similarly convoluted it would get at some point. But that book is about, like, 2 artists falling in love. Or, yeah, it's 2 artists falling in love. God, I read that so long ago. And I am an artist, as I've said. And in the same way, I cannot read books about artists when they try to start, like, describing themselves making art or making this, like, okay, sorry, this is gonna be, like, a long kind of side tangent description sort of thing. In that book, and a lot of books similar to that I have read, when it is, like, a fictional artist falling in love with, like, another fictional artist, they always have this, like, big important art piece of some sort, and they always try to describe it, and they always describe it so poorly. And in that one specifically, it didn't make sense at all, because I'm pretty sure he was making a marble sculpture, and there was a base part of the marble that just would not have worked with the rest of the marble. Anyway, that's beside the point. It literally, he was describing himself making it, and it was like, I pour myself into the art, I carve and chisel and, like, all this type of stuff. I get it. Those are fantastic descriptions. I don't know why. I can't take that shit seriously. I'm like, okay, just make. Like, just create. You don't gotta go into all this about it. And then they try to describe it, and I'm like, I can't picture it. Because you're describing it either really poorly, or you're describing it in a way where, once more, I have to completely suspend my disbelief and believe that you did that in the amount of time you did it, with the resources you did it, in the way that you were describing it. All this to say, she sneaks into this room. She's not alone. Guys, she's not alone. And somebody's watching her. Night is watching her. And she takes a long drink of liquor, and she presumes that he is waiting for her to begin dancing, because she presumes that she's, like, a dancer, obviously a stripper in this world. And so then she starts to describe herself dancing, and this is what I was getting at with my point. I cannot take it seriously when things like this are described in books. When somebody is describing, and it's the same thing of it being in first person. When somebody is describing themselves doing something like this, and they're not describing it well, they're describing it in a way where they're just straight up telling you something instead of showing you how they are doing it, it gets really bad and really cringy, low grade writing style. So the steps I could take, this is me I'm reading the book now. The steps I could take, the The steps I could take I played out subconsciously, tempting my body to enact them as I'd done to no audience but shadow. And so that sentence alone shows how convoluted and confusing this writing can be, because she's just making it so too poetic. And there's nothing wrong with a poetic writing style, but when it's poetic in a sense that doesn't like make sense, it does. I know what the sentence is saying. The sentence is saying she dances by herself alone to shadow, but you're trying to like connect it too much with the plot of the book that we don't know yet. By saying that she's dancing to shadow, it was trying to connect it to the fact that night controls shadows or whatever. Does he control shadows? Brother, like I said, skimmed it. But yeah, you're trying to connect the plot to the point that you were dancing to shadows this whole time. This whole time you've been dancing to night. So on this first meeting, when you're finally actually dancing to him, it's like it comes to you naturally. And it's like, that's fine. But like, it wouldn't make sense for her to know that and phrase it in that way. You know what I'm saying? I know what I'm saying. I hope you know what I'm saying. Because then she goes on to say, that was all this man was, in reference to him being shadow. Like, you're foreshadowing very poorly. Foreshadowing. Sorry. Okay. I could pretend to be dancing along the precarious rafters as a silly imitation to those gifted in the skill. The worst to come of it would be no payment if I didn't meet his expectation. I didn't need that. So that's what she says. And finally, like, okay, no, it goes back to her, like, you're dancing in the rafters, brother. First of all, you have a bedroom you can practice in. Second of all, it's just not good. I'm sorry. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, it's too much and too little all at once. That's how I would explain it. It's too much and too little all at once. Then it continues to go on to describing the dance, and it says, I thought his eyes were upon me with the vibrating awareness. I thought his eyes were upon me with the vibrating awareness. I thought his eyes were upon me with the vibrating awareness. I thought his eyes were upon me with the vibrating awareness. I thought his eyes... Okay. And see, this is where the writing gets once more confusing and convoluting and stops making sense. Were you vibrating with awareness, or were his eyes vibrating with awareness, or was the room vibrating with the awareness? The way this is written, nobody knows the answer to that. She doesn't, he doesn't, the author doesn't. And then, yeah, she goes on to say, I wondered what color they were. It shouldn't have mattered, but I skipped through green, blue, brown. None felt right for the shallow fire that rippled over me. What? Again, it's the sense of, I get what she's trying to say. And it's not the part where she goes through the eye colors. That's not the part that's confusing me. That's like, duh, a man is sitting in darkness. You imagine what color his eyes are. You try, but then you also can't see the rest of his face. So how are you imagining his eyes set on a face that you also can't imagine? The way I see it is literally like, from, God, what's the recent Avengers movie? Thunderbolts. From Thunderbolts. The way I literally see it is as Void from Thunderbolts. Like, to me, that is how I'm imagining her seeing this man and like circling through his eye colors like that. And then none that felt right for the shallow fire that rippled over me. This is bad in the sense of visual language. So you're saying it's a shallow fire. So when you say shallow fire, what do you imagine? A fire that's not deep. It's shallow. So that would be like a fire pit like this instead of a fire pit like this. But then it ripples over you, which is a more water term, like a more term that deals with water. You could imagine the fire rippling over, like dancing across your skin. That would have been a better metaphor for it. You're literally dancing. If you said the fire that danced over my skin, that would have been so much better. But a shallow fire, so you're envisioning, first of all, this fire isn't that deep, so she's not feeling it as strongly as she would a fire that was like deep in her heart or deep in her soul, like feeling it ripple through her body, or like grip her throat or anything like that. Instead, it's just a light, shallow fire that ripples. Was it over her skin or was that me? Over her. She just says over me. So yeah, that's just like a lot of the visualization is written like that. And I just struggle with that. And I know, again, that that's very nitpicky. And if it was just like one paragraph or one sentence or like one even chapter or part of the book, I wouldn't really necessarily have a big issue with it. But it's every page something is described in similar ways to this. And again, it just goes back to a lot of showing and zero telling. So yeah. And then yeah, she keeps describing her dance. And I just can't with it. I'm sorry. I know this is like so nitpicky and specific. I just hate when people describe things like this. My movements pushed and pulled, with gravity flowing the light materials of my skirts and what was draped around my shoulders attached to my wrists. That's confusing. Don't understand that. Like, I'm trying to envision this. I can envision her movements pushing and pulling, the gravity flowing her skirt. Something is draped over her shoulders and attached to her wrists, though? So is it like a scarf that's draped over her shoulders and attached? Again, this is just where I struggle with a lot of the descriptions of this book. It's trying to be too much, but not giving enough somehow. Also, the way that I'm reading this dance and the way that it's being described, it's giving, she's been watching these girls, these strippers, dancing for a while. You can imagine how a stripper would dance. The way she's describing her dance is like a kindergartner ballerina. Like my first ballet class when I was a wee lass. Like, she's like, it's twirling, the skirt is flowing. Strippers are twerking. They're throwing that thing back. They're shimmying. They're not twirling around all cutely and demurely. And, like, it doesn't matter in the end because, like, he's not actually there, I think. The way that it's described, he just, like, disappears. So it's, like, she's just cringily dancing for him, yes, but also, like, herself, kind of. It's confusing. But, like, why are you describing it like this? If she is trying to genuinely convince this man that she is a dancer and delivering a dance and she doesn't want to get caught by Hector, like, if he didn't like this dance, the only consequence was her not getting paid. If this man was a real, genuine paying customer and not Knight, then he could have easily complained to Hector, the guy that she is sleeping with and the guy that is holding her captive. But that doesn't cross her mind because she's an idiot. Oh, and then immediately, we're 11 pages in, and this is how I know that this book was written for the anti-intellectual rise that we are having on TikTok right now, where everything is the same and all the tropes have to be the same and all the words have to be the same. Page 11. Who did this to you? I hate the who did this to you trope. I'm just gonna say it. I hate it. I'm not in the sense that it can't be done well and it can't be done right. It's just been exceedingly overdone. 'Cause y'all just met. She just met him. That should be met with concern, not her thinking that it's hot. But no. That's not what happened. And then he, like, approves that she's holding this specific type of dagger. And it's like, girl, you just gonna let him talk to you like that? Okay. And then he talks about, yeah, okay, sorry. I feel like this video is getting a bit long for me, having, like, absolutely no structure to it. I did write a semi-plot structure, so let me make sure I hit the points that I got in that. Because I really was just ranting about nothing just then, but also about everything. I'm sorry. I'm just struggling because we were 11 pages in and I was already thinking that was the worst book I've ever read. Okay, it's not the worst book I've ever read. That book right there, Evil Boys, it's up there. It's up there with that one. So yeah, I'm literally just going to go through my structure since I'm going to be ending this video soon. Her name is literally Estrella, which means star. The love interest, I didn't mention this, Knight. The love interest, Knight, calls her Starlight. Her name is Estrella, which means star, and night calls her starlight. What are we doing? Oh my god. Oh, and she also has dreams about stars. And it also mentions in the beginning, like, him, like, watching a star, like, waiting for his love or whatever. Like, we know who she is. You're not being clever. You're not foreshadowing well. I never at any point also knew what the plot was. This is another point I wanted to hit on. Nothing happens, ever. It's like the same thing's happening over and over again. Literally within the first, like, 2-3 chapters or something like that, she escapes Hector, she gets away, and then she gets recaptured by him. And it just keeps happening that way. And then she gets rescued, she gets captured, and it just keeps happening over and over and over and over and over again. And that happens in a lot of books these days. Like, a lot of them. This isn't just a stars are dying fault. This is every author is trying to make a quick buck, and publishing companies are also trying to get a quick buck, so they are writing what people are consuming, but people aren't thinking about what they are consuming. Okay. I've talked slightly about how it's just, like, literally a Frankenstein of a bunch of other books that are following the same popular tropes right now and doing the same exact things. There's a shadow daddy in it, which the book I'm currently writing is called We Who Consume the Dark, and it has shadow magic in it. And I am offended by how poorly so many people have been doing shadow magic, because I'm trying my hardest. I am trying my hardest to do it well and to take away from the perception that is now around shadow magic, which is that it is being done poorly. Yeah, like I have been saying, sorry, there's something on my leg. Let's throw in some self-critiquing while we're here. Similar to this video, it's poorly written, it doesn't make any sense, it jumps all over the place. The writing does all showing and zero telling. It is just not very good. So yeah, that is a star. The stars are dying. I don't know if I said this at the beginning of the video. I had planned to say it at the beginning of the video, and then the video kind of just went off the rails. But, oh shit, I forgot it again. Oh my god, why am I recording right now? My mind is not on the right track. What was I gonna say? I don't remember what I was gonna say. So what I will say is, if you liked this book because of the vibes, for any reason, you liked the characters, if you liked it, I am not judging you for liking it. That's good for you. I have liked a very bad book once in my life. I've read Ice Planet Barbarians. I kind of like those books. They're fun to read. I like them in the sense that I gave them 2 stars. They are fun to read. They're not written well, but they are fun to read. This was not fun to read for me because it wasn't written well. And it wasn't fun. Like, it was way too up its own butt, is the best way I can put it. It was trying way too hard to be like all of the other fantasy books that are out there these days and just follow the tropes that have been doing well. And it was trying to foreshadow too much where it should not have been foreshadowing. And yeah, that's how I felt about this book. This wasn't a review. This was just me ranting and going insane. But I hoped you liked this video, and if you want to watch me yap about more topics, because I probably will never do a book review again, because I don't want to actually script a book review out. I just want to rant about how much I hated them. But I do talk about pop culture topics, history, whatever I really feel like talking about whenever I post videos. Yay! Subscribe! Bye! I remembered what I was gonna say. My video should be this way. I remembered what I was going to say. I was going to say, oh my god, why do I keep forgetting it every time I pick my camera up? I was going to say, I was reading this. I looked at the Goodreads. Once I got done looking at the Goodreads, I went to YouTube to look for a rant review like I always do when I don't like a book. I didn't find a rant review, and that's why I wanted to post this video. Boom! Full circle. We got there, guys.